Welcome to the Reins of Leadership, the podcast dedicated to helping you lead with presence and influence with trust. I'm your host, Merinda Smith, business leadership strategist, sharing actionable insights on mindset, EQ and energy uniquely illuminated by wisdom gained alongside my equine partners. Hello and welcome back. It seems like it's been a while since I've recorded anything for you, yet maybe that's just in my head. Today I wanted to talk about something every leader faces, and it doesn't matter how experienced or self-aware we think we are. It's about getting out of our own way and being able to become curious enough to identify the blind spots that trip us up. And as always, I've got a story from the paddock to help bring it to life. And the story goes, it's about one of my young fillies. The other week, one of my fillies managed to open up her leg. It was a deep, nasty cut that needed real bandaging and wrapping and antibiotics and lots of rest. And the vet was very clear to me, she needs confinement. Put her in the stable so she can't move too much. The leg has to stay wrapped. Now, if you've been around me long enough, you'll know I don't love stabling horses unless absolutely necessary. Even when I'm washing my horses for a competition the next day, for me to put them in a confined stable just doesn't sit well. For me, it's all about freedom, space, and letting a horse find its calm in open environments. So instead of listening fully, I thought, well, I'll put her in a small yard, close enough she still have room to breathe. Except the yard was just a bit too big. And when I stepped away, and maybe when her companions who were next to her but could move around behind the shed, she decided the best thing for her to do was to canter and buck around and around and around. So 2 days after she'd first had her leg wrapped, she had to have it rewrapped because she was just opening the wound, exposing it to the dirt, and the wrapping was falling down the leg. So I took her back to the vet because she's a young filly and she hasn't been handled that much. So a filly in pain and trying to wrap her leg and all of this thing by yourself. It was only me doing it. My husband is not able to help me at this very point in time. And so it was all too difficult. So I thought the easiest way is to load her on the float and take her to the vet. So I take her to the vet. I explained this is what she's done. The vet didn't say anything. I'm sure she thought something, but she didn't say anything. And she rewrapped the bandage within 2 days, getting her home. Again, the same thing. I put her back in the same yard and she'd done more damage. She'd ripped the bandage clean off and we were back to the vet within hours for redressing. And the instructions were repeated, but it took the third time, so a whole week, of getting this filly's leg rebandaged. When I'm standing there and I'm looking at all the horses in the vet hospital and I'm looking around and I'm going, they're all in small yards. And I'm going, that is what confinement means. Yes, I know, it took me a while. So I wasn't ignoring the advice. I wasn't trying to break the rules. I genuinely thought I was doing what was best for her. Yet that thought was actually my blind spot. That blind spot is the place where we're not deliberately careless. They're the places we think we're doing the right thing, but we're actually making the path harder. When I finally got her home after the third trip and her leg was well and truly bandaged, I put her in the stable. And it was really interesting because she settled. She seemed to feel safer. She stopped fussing, and when the other horses were out of sight, it didn't bother her. And I noticed that she was just calm all the time and her breathing was soft. And her body finally felt like it was having that stillness that it needed to heal. Then, interestingly, I was listening to podcasts or what have you, and the word blind spot came into, and as a leader, having a blind spot came into my consciousness. And I went, oh my God, that is exactly what I have been doing with my filly. I was resisting so strongly putting her into confinement, but that was exactly what she needed. And as she's healing, I had to admit something to myself that, I was focused on avoiding the discomfort of the short-term solution and that I couldn't see the bigger picture. Does this sound familiar? I think it is, because in leadership, every leader, no matter how intuitive or experienced, has blind spots. And these are hidden corners of our perspective that can unknowingly steer us off course, sometimes with significant consequences for our team, our projects, and even ourselves. They show up when we cling to how we prefer to operate, even when the situation calls for a new approach. Often we don't know what is causing the problem, but maybe your work has plummeted, your deadlines are slipping, or your team are being disconnected, they're taking sick leave, or they're not going about the goals, and you're finding careless mistakes. And when you see this happening week after week, that is a time to stop and to try and work through what is going on. Why is there a lapse in performance? And when you do that, you uncover something very interesting. And that is, the problem doesn't lie with the team, but in fact it lies with you, the leader. We assume our usual way is always the best way, ignoring any emerging evidence. We confuse our discomfort with genuine danger. We let old beliefs override current needs, cling to outdated strategies. We knew it worked once, so why is it not going to work again? Surely it will. We underestimate the true cost of doing things our way, especially when it impacts others. And in my example I've just given you about my filly, my immediate reaction was visceral. It wasn't me saying, no vet, I'm not keeping her in a confined stable. I just had this blind spot about me, my deep-seated aversion to confinement for horses, where my ingrained belief that freedom is always healthier, and my old stories about what horses should have, and that is wide open pastures and constant movement. And I saw the stable somehow as punishment, a limitation, and my own discomfort of that idea clouded my judgment. I resisted it, thinking I knew better. So when we project our own experiences and preferences into situations, we assume our internal landscape is the external reality. Just like I was projecting my need for freedom onto my injured horse. So in leadership, leaders often project their past successes, their personal working style, their communication style, or their comfort zones onto their teams or new challenges. And we might insist on a certain communication method because it's always worked for us, or shy away from an innovative project because it feels too unconventional, when it really is exactly what is needed at that point in time. So let's turn around the word blind spots and let's not think of them as being weaknesses. Simply become curious of how you are reacting in this way. And blind spots are simply places we haven't inspected yet with honesty, areas where our ingrained beliefs or preferences subtly dictate our actions without us even realizing it. And that is why they're called blind spots, because they're exactly that. We don't know that they are there. Yet sometimes we get an opportunity that shines a light on a situation. And if we are really truly honest with ourselves, we can ask the people who we lead or ask others in our immediate periphery as to, did my way of going about it, was it the best way forward? Some common blind spots that show up in workplaces could be micromanaging, where a leader thinks they're ensuring quality, yet their constant oversight demotivates team members, making them feel they're not trusted to do their jobs. Another area that I've seen is favoritism. So that's assigning exciting projects only to the favorites or the ones who you know can get them done. And yet, even though you are benefiting because you're getting their tasks done, the team know is this unwritten law, oh, she's only going to give it to him or her. And so they feel left out. And eventually the ones who actually need to be given those key tasks may feel invisible or leave the business. Another area of blind spots I've seen is ignoring feedback, where leaders say that they are approachable, yet they dismiss input from the team. And they hear it, they listen, they sit and they listen to the feedback, but then they do nothing about it. Or the other thing they do is they watch something happen and they don't do anything about it, which is probably worse because that's signalling saying you can just keep doing things that are wrong, that are not ethical maybe, or are shortcuts, and I'm not going to do anything about it. Another area, and this is one of my areas, so I just want to point that out, is maybe overconfidence in decision making or power or having the knowledge and moving forward so quickly that you're losing everyone behind you. So realizing that we are human, we do have flaws, and that choices are needed to be made by consulting the team. And that way you get those valuable perspectives from others and a rounded viewpoint. And of course there's that unconscious bias. And again, it's a bit like a blind spot because it's unconscious and you don't know that you're doing it. And so, yeah, some of these are really tricky because we don't know. We keep living the way we're doing it. And even when we think that we are being mindful and we're self-aware, there's still stuff that we do that rumble others in their progress of moving forward. So how do we recognize it? We recognize it through encouraging honest feedback from your team. So that's really building up that safe environment for team members to actually speak up. And for you to ask, what one thing could I do better? And be open to the answers. Don't dismiss them. Open and take them on. Or not all of them, but maybe just one or two of them. Reflect regularly, so set aside time weekly to journal or think critically about your decisions. Think about your interactions you've had and the impacts you've made, what worked, what didn't, and why. And then go beyond your inner circle. Talk to frontline employees, different departments, or even trusted mentors, and ask them for candid input. It really is important. And be humble when you receive it. And sometimes it lands like a lump of lead and you go, oh, no, I don't do that. But just sit with it. Maybe sleep on it. And then be curious the next day. At least that's my trick and that's how I do it. And then when you are curious, you're able to implement different strategies or to just chip away at those small blind spots that become normal part of your leadership. And if you really want to be one of those best leaders, then you are someone who actively uncover and address them by being open, reflective, and ready to act on the feedback that you're getting. And you can turn those hidden weaknesses into your powerful strengths. Now back to me and my filly. So first of all, about me, I've made many mistakes in my leadership, and I continue to as I work with others. Yet for me, I try and be open and reflect, and when something isn't going that well, I think, okay, what part am I playing in this? Is it the way I've communicated it? Is it my urgency to get it done where I haven't explained it in such clarity? Or what is it? How is my human self showing up, and how can I do better in some way? So that's about me. And now my filly. So she's in the stable. She is recovering, and it will be a few weeks yet because the leg was very badly damaged. However, I know we're on the right path, and I am personally open to some more learning. How about you? And remember to take one small step at a time, one blind spot that's going to make maximum impact. Work on that one. Be kind to yourself. When it's resonating most with the team, then strengthen it by taking another step and taking on another blind spot. Maybe one that your team is going to benefit most from you addressing. It's all in those little steps. And then by doing that, you're building the foundation for becoming an amazing leader. That's it for this week, and I look forward to speaking to you again in the very near future. Thanks for joining me on the Reins of Leadership. Remember to lead with presence and influence with trust. Subscribe for more insights and find resources at merindasmith.podia.com.